Here we are
Here
in
we
my
are.
basement.
Yeah, we're coming to you this week from Barb's basement.
I know, yeah.
This is where all the magic happens, friends. In Barb's world, anyway.
Yeah, this is it. This is you know, kind of my studio down here, and we've got the cameras set up, and we're going to film today from here. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming over and joining me.
No problem. She fed me coffee and biscotti, so you know all is well in the world.
Yeah.
Hey, we should do an intro.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is episode 88.
Yes.
Lucky 88. Two eights in a row. That's got to be a good sign.
Did you buy a lottery ticket today?
Did not.
You
I did
should
not. Good
go.
idea. And we are Barb and Cynthia. We're coming to you from Yarniversity by River City Yarns. And welcome to our podcast on.
Yeah. We've got a great lineup today. We're going to talk with you about some of the works that in progress that we've got going on, some of the things we've finished, and a whole line of classes that we've got coming up. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, let's start with works in progress, Barb.
Okay.
So I have been working on a whip that has taken me years to finish.
Oh my.
Yeah. It's my Rock'em socks. Let me show them to you.
Oh, that's because these truly are mega socks.
Yeah. So I've got a pair of Rock'em socks that I started, I'm going to say maybe 5 years ago.
Wow.
I'll let you hold my ball of yarn. And these are socks that were designed by Barb Brown,
A local Alberta designer.
And they're knee-high socks, although the pattern does allow you to do a calf version of them. And I started knitting these in Barn Burner, the hat trick yarn. Yeah, so this is made out of Socknado, and I'm using 2 100-gram skeins of yarn. I knit the socks from here. I did a provisional cast on, and I knit the socks down to the heel and the toe, finished them off, and then I came back and I took out this provisional cast on, and I'm working my ribbing up, and I'm just going to keep going until I finish the yarn.
Till they're as long as you want them to be?
Yeah. I tried them on yesterday.
Yeah.
And they're now just up to the bottom of my knee.
Oh, perfect.
So just under my knee.
Yeah.
So I figure with my yarn I might be able to get, you know, that much more, and I can fold them over.
Yeah. You guys, you got to check out the pattern on the back of these socks. Does Barb Brown call that pattern anything? Like it looks like, you know, bird's wings or something.
Yeah, it's a cable pattern. So you make an elongated stitch, and then you actually use your cable needle to transfer stitches over to get that V shape. And I'll give you a close-up image of this. Yeah.
The thing about these, I think, is that they're so pretty when you're walking away. Right?
Yeah.
You know, you just get this beautiful pattern going up the back of the leg.
Right.
Congratulations, because that's quite a knit, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so. I think I will have them finished before we go on our train trip.
Are you taking them to Jasper?
I'm planning to wear one of my Ann Bud knitted skirts and possibly my Barb Brown designed Rock'em socks. Yeah.
Oh, that's
absolutely.
great. Okay.
Yeah.
I can hardly wait to see that.
Now you've been working on something too, the winter weather wrap.
Yes, I've got it right here. Yeah, let me pull this out of the bag. Okay, so this, you guys, is the winter wrap. And I made mine maybe a little bit long, a little bit wider than I should have. I think I cast on a few more stitches. But I have a lot of this yarn in my stash, and I wanted to add extra days. This was started on the winter solstice.
Yeah, December 21st.
And it's so much fun. I'm going to show you how to do this stitch because this stitch is one of the coolest stitches. It's called a double garter stitch. And I love it so much. It makes a double layer. And this blanket is really nice and thick and cushy.
Oh, yeah. Will you show me how to do this?
Yes. Yeah, it's a really great stitch.
Is it hard?
No, it's very easy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my winter wrap. And this is a stitch called the Double Garter Stitch. So you can see on this side how it's garter, but there's sort of like a ridge beneath it. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's 2 colors that are happening on each row. It's so much fun to knit, so I thought I'd show you how to do it. So to start out with, you're going to stick your needle in just like you would go start to knit, and wrap your yarn, come through one stitch. Now I'm going to park my needle in stitch number 2 while I just orientate myself. I want to leave enough yarn for a fringe on the edge, but not too much. So I've been leaving about 6 inches or so, like that. And now I'm going to take a new color. I've got this one here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to leave about 6 inches. Here we go. Put my yarn over stitch number 2 and bring it through. Now I'm going to park my needle in stitch number 3 while I set up my yarns to do color knitting. So here's my 2 tails. These will get tied up into fringe later on. And here's the yarns that are attached to the balls. So I'm going to put the dark yarn, the one I cast on first, in my right hand, and the other yarn in my left. This is how I like to do it. So now I'm going to knit stitch number 3. I'm going to stick my needle in stitch number 4 and knit it, and so on. I'm going to keep alternating colors, stranding on the back of the work. So one stitch of the dark, one of the light. And I'm just going to keep doing this all the way across the row. When I get to the end, I'll turn around and do the same thing. I'm going to cut the ends, leaving a 6-inch tail. So it'll have these 2 yarns. You have 2 yarns coming at the end of every row, and 2 tails at the beginning and the end of every row, and those tails make your fringe. But this is how you do the double garter stitch. It's a lot of fun. Give it a try, and you'll see what a nice sort of thick, cushiony fabric you can make.
So you're using 2 colors for every row, and the color that you're making 1 stitch with each color, and you're stranding the yarn behind, but when you turn your work, so there's strands on both sides of your work because you're doing it the same each time you turn it.
That's right.
Nice.
See, here's what the back side looks like.
Right. Right. It really breaks up the color.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a great technique for blending colors and shades.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole, all the different colors in the kit, there was so much variegation going on in each one of these balls. But you can see how it really blends out colors and makes them look so pretty. This is another fiber too. This is a merino, a silk and merino, I believe, yarn, and you can see the shininess of the silk. This is used on special days or whenever you want to add a little pop of shine and color into the wrap. And these are the ends of the wrap, where when you've got 4 ends, you just tie a little knot.
And keep going.
And keep going.
Nice.
Lots of fun. Double garter stitch.
Nice.
And it's one of these blankets where I just knit on it at night, armchair knitting, while watching hockey games. And I think that it would be sort of like a weighted blanket. It's got some real heft to it, don't you think?
Yeah, it does. It's really squishy. That's probably because it's made out of Eden, which is a scrumptious yarn. So that probably helps to make it feel even better.
Every stitch is a delight. It's merino cashmere nylon, and it's got so much bounce and softness, and I'm loving it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got mine finished, and I didn't bring it with me, but I'll pop in a little picture of it.
Yeah.
Right around this time to show you, because I crocheted mine.
Right.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you were supposed to change color depending on the temperature or what's happening in the weather around you. So yeah, it was pretty cold. Can you tell?
She's been complaining about the cold
I
all
have,
winter long.
yes. Anyways, here's my leftovers. I have only sunny colors left, so let's get some sun here in Alberta so I can use these shades.
Sounds good. All right. Well, the another kind of work in progress are two projects that we've been working on in anticipation of our wool, wine, and wheels trip.
Right.
We're going to Jasper in a little bit.
Yes, I'm so excited.
And so we've got two projects on the go to kind of celebrate our trip to Jasper. Mine is called the Wraparound. It's a pattern designed by Stephanie Pro McPhee, who's our guest on the trip. And I'm just going to grab it here and show you that. So this scarf is done in two parts. Here, you hold that one. Okay. This is the first part that's been completed, and here I have my ball of yarn and my knitting needle. So I'm going to start the second half, and then they get grafted together in the center.
Right.
Now
yours feels really nice and cushy.
Oh, and good. Soft. Well, the yarn that we're using for these projects is another Socknado yarn by our friend Carolyn and Dan at Ancient Arts. And so it's a nice squishy plump merino in a fingering weight. And I'm going to, the thing I think is kind of special about this scarf is the way I started it. So you begin with this garter stitch section, and the cast on is actually one of these sides. So I wanted my cast on edge to look exactly like my bind off edge.
Right.
And I used a crochet cast on to do that. So I thought maybe, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think people might be interested in seeing how to do a crochet cast on?
Absolutely. Do we have time to pop that in here?
Let's pop a little tutorial right in here.
Exciting. That's great. Yes.
Okay. So that's my wraparound scarf that I've been working on, and I'll show you how to cast on if you'd like to have a matching cast on to your bind off. So I'm going to do a crochet cast on for my wraparound scarf, and I thought you might like to see how I do that. I've got my circular needle that I'm working on, I've got a crochet hook, and I've got my yarn. So I begin with a slip knot. So I'm just going to create a slip knot in my yarn here, and I'm going to place that onto my crochet hook and just snug it up. I've also made sure that my slip knot will tighten by the tail. That means that afterwards, when if the slip knot gets loose, after I've put it on my, after I've used it in my scarf, I can always just tighten up that first stitch again. So now I'm taking my knitting needle, and I'm holding my crochet hook in my right hand, and I've got the knitting needle in my left hand, and I've got the yarn going underneath the knitting needle over to the left. And so I'm holding my knitting needle over top of the yarn, you could say the yarn is running underneath my knitting needle. I've got my slip knot on my crochet hook, and now what I'm going to do is make a crochet chain over top of my knitting needle. So my crochet hook is going over the knitting needle. I'm swirling it around the yarn to catch it, and I'm pulling it over top of the knitting needle back through the slip knot that was on the crochet hook. And now my crochet hook is still to the left of my knitting needle, but my yarn is on top of the knitting needle. So I'm taking the yarn in between the hook and the needle and around to the back. And then I'm going to take my crochet hook and pivot it over top of the knitting needle, swirl it under the yarn, and rotate the hook so that it's pointing towards my thumb. And I'll just bring it through the loop that's on the crochet hook. And then again, take the yarn around to the back. Take your crochet hook and go over top of the knitting needle and pull the yarn over, pull the yarn through the loop on your hook. And you continue to do this until you have as many stitches to cast onto your work as you need for whatever it is that you're making. I need 50 stitches, so I'm going to be doing this for a little while. Okay, 47, 48, 49, and 50. So this is my 49th stitch. I was about to do the 50th stitch, but this is actually the 50th stitch, the one that's on my crochet hook. So I'm just going to take that stitch and pop it up onto my knitting needle. And you can see the yarn is still attached to it here, and that will be my 50th stitch. And then I just bring my knitting needle around and I knit.
Explain to us a little bit about the way that Stephanie's designed this pattern for
Sure.
variegated yarn.
Sure. So the whole pattern is done in sections. There are, I think, 5 sections in it. And
Is the first one?
you can mix and match them. She's got them labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, or sorry, E. And you can do them any way you like, but they're all variations on garter stitch. And some of them include short rows to create shaping. Some of them include working in a different direction, like working perpendicularly. Some of them include mitered squares. And they're all designed to kind of show off the yarn in a slightly different way.
It's great. This section here looks like stripes and vertical, like up and down, and then they go this way, and it's just so cool. It must be fun to knit because you're never bored, right?
It's true. It's a really nice, fun knit. And as I said, she has you make 2 segments and then graft them together, but you could just keep going. And the yarn I should also mention is Carolyn's Super Socknado. So this yarn comes in a 150-gram skein with over 500 meters. And that means, if I can borrow that for a second, that means when you create a scarf out of 1 skein of yarn, it's actually quite generous.
It is, very. And she may still have this on her website. Go to Ancient Arts Yarn.
We'll put a link in the notes down below the video.
And if you can't find it, send an email and ask for Jasper colorway. It's so pretty. It was designed to go to mimic a photo that we had sent of Jasper. So there's a lot of blue and gray blues and dark blues in it, but there's also this speckle of like spring flowers and things. Lots of green too to represent pine trees.
Why don't you show us your project for the trip, because it's done in the same yarn, and I think folks might find that interesting as well.
So I'm doing the road trip summer shawl, summer road trip shawl. And what this is a triangular shawl. So nothing new there. We've all done those probably. And you start off at one end. But the difference with this one is that wherever you get a long section of dark yarn, and Carolyn's dyed this, so there's about an 8-inch long section of a dark color. In my case, it's navy, and then it transitions into a really dark green. When you get to that section, you do something different. So instead of just knitting garter stitch, stockinette stitch, you do the opposite for those stitches. There's about 16 of them. And so when you're on the stockinette side, you do reverse stockinette, and you get these great little purl bumps on the stockinette side where you're knitting into the row that you've just finished. And then on the other side, you're working in reverse stockinette, and so you do stockinette on this side. And then every 3rd or 4th time, doesn't really matter, but then you put in a drop stitch.
A drop stitch or an elongated stitch?
An elongated stitch.
Which you drop.
Which you drop,
Okay.
And then you get these sections here.
Cool.
Which are, now mine hasn't been blocked yet, so, but once this gets blocked, oh my gosh, these look so cool. And so the shawl just gets wider and wider as you get to the end.
So do you just keep going till you run out of yarn?
Yeah, but Cynthia, I have a skein of this.
Oh.
So this is the color.
A coordinating color.
Yeah, that Carol, I'm giving you half of this so you can use half for yours. You can have a navy section right in the middle. This is called a Midnight Clear, and it's in here. in a slightly different shade.
That color is in the skein here.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So Carolyn made these to match up so that it'd be coordinating.
Perfectly coordinating color. Yeah. Lovely.
So try this. It's so much fun. I can't tell you how much fun this pattern is to knit.
That's really good. Here's your other ball. Excellent.
Look at the speckles in there. So that's that.
Those are our works in progress, and now let's talk a little bit about finished objects.
Right.
So you've got something on that's finished.
I'm wearing mine. I finished my granola sweater. So this is a sweater that's made out of a yarn called granola. It's 70% merino and 30% hemp, and it's from Biscotti. It's a Louise Roberts colorway, and we bought it last, like March or April or May last year when we went to Montreal for Knit City. Right. And so it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to make, and I did numerous swatches. But this is a really pretty mosaic pattern called Chains that I wanted to use up in the yoke. And yeah, nice. I just finished getting it off the needles. It's really nice and soft too. You know, hemp sort of gets softer and softer as you wear and wash it. And so I think it's going to be kind of my summer t-shirty.
Oh, yeah. That's really nice.
How about you? What have you finished?
So well, last month was National Crochet Month, and I've been spending a lot of time with my hook. There was a fiberside chat. There was a fiberside chat with a lovely woman named Carrie Lord, and she taught us how to make these little bunnies. Oh. And so I crocheted a little bunny, and then this morning or at breakfast, I crocheted a little granny square and put 2 sleeves on, so that my bunny could have a sweater to go on.
You did that this morning.
This morning, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't take long. I didn't make the bunny this morning. You've
inspired me, you know, that's my next project. I'm going to do some crochet, some granny squares, because I just think these are so cool.
They are. They're really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who doesn't, well, if you don't know how to do a granny square, or if you wanted to do a granny square my way, we have a tutorial video for you, and we'll put a link to that as well.
I watched that the other day. Yeah? It's fabulous.
Oh, do you like it?
Yeah, you were saying something about, you know, you weren't maybe that crazy about it, or you were shy about it. It's one of the best videos I think you've done.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's great. You got to go check it out. It's her version, Cynthia's version of how to do a granny square. And you go over the entire thing from the center where you do that little special magic knot.
I have to say thank you, Carissa Browning, because Carissa Browning showed she has a video on her website that shows you how to do that magic circle in the center, and I really like that. But yeah, I do my granny squares just a little bit differently than some of the other granny squares that are out there, and I explain why in the tutorial. So if you'd like to crochet along with me, you should.
Great.
So this is my only finished project. Because we've been busy getting ready for classes. We've been teaching a bit more this month.
We have, yeah. You know, speaking of bunnies, it just reminds me because it's Easter, or it was Easter, and I have those bunny slippers I have to show later on when we get to classes. Okay. Remind me.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, let's talk about what's coming up for classes and events at your university.
Okay.
So the first thing coming up this month is a class with Kate Atherley. Kate's doing her Socks 101 class, and this is going to be a toe-up sock class. You'll work on a really tiny sock, a baby sock, if you will, but you learn how to do them toe-up with a heel and flap gusset.
I love that fit. Yeah. That's really It's traditional.
It's the best.
For me, though, it just fits really nice. I like that.
Yeah. This is a 2-part class, so we'll begin on April 19th and finish up on April 26th. It's called Socks 101 with our friend Kate. And then, right following that, we're going to do a class on felted slippers.
Oh, right. Yes. Well, check this out.
Aww.
This is an Easter bunny slipper sock. You made this.
Yeah.
And It's the cutest ever. It's got these floppy ears. So we're going to give you the pattern on how to make felted slippers in this class with these addendums. And so you can take and make your felted slippers. Here's another version. I love this one. Just a nice big opening here and a pop on. These are the kind of furry, felted, thick slippers you want to keep at your back when you have company over. They're great too because they're just so nice and warm and cozy.
I think you have a pre-felted version of this one.
I do.
Right?
So this is what you're going to make in the class.
It's ginormous, Barb.
It is. And then we're going to talk all about how to felt it. And you're going to end up with one that looks something like this. So there you can see, if we hold them toe to toe, you can see the difference in size.
Yeah.
About, I'd say it shrinks at least a third, wouldn't you say?
I think 25%, maybe to 33%, yeah. I guess it depends on your washing machine, right?
It does, yeah. And your yarn, too. That's going to make a difference. We used Rowan Norwegian wool.
This is Norwegian wool. It felts really nicely. And then we've also done some in Rowan Kid Classic.
We love this one because this one has mohair built into it. And in this pair, I added mohair. So I added a strand of Kid Silk Haze to this. And that creates this lovely sort of fuzziness that I think is a nice thing to have.
Yeah. For the class, we've put some suggestions for yarns that you can use in class. So check out the website to see the different kinds of yarns that you can use.
Right. And if you're new to making socks, you want to take this class as well, because what we're doing is we're going over all the basic parts of a sock. The cuff and the leg, we're going to talk about the heel flap and the gusset, and we're going to get into the foot of the sock and how to do the toe. So again, if you're new to socks, this is a great way to learn, and you don't have to worry about making any mistakes because we're going to throw these in the washing machine and turn them into these.
Yeah. So you can make Frankenstein socks? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. So these socks are typically knitted on double pointed needles. But I suppose if somebody wanted to, they could use magic loop or two circulars.
Yeah, there's no rules with tools. Use whatever you're comfortable with.
Right.
Be it magic loop or double points. We'll give a whole list of supplies that you need in the handout.
Perfect. Thanks, Barb. That's going to be fun.
Come and join us.
Yeah. And then following the felted slippers class, we're going to do a class called Stranded Colorwork for Beginners. We designed a pattern, and Barb, for Christmas, Barb gave me this beautiful cowl.
Aw, thank you.
I love this cowl.
I love the X and O pattern that you did. That was so much fun to knit.
This is a very common pattern in Fair Isle knitting, right? You'll see it on a lot of Fair Isle
Norwegian.
Yeah, patterns. And so we took that and we put it into a cowl and a hat pattern. But we thought, rather than casting on a big project with lots of stitches, it would be good to teach a class to show you how to navigate using two colors at the same time.
Right.
And what to do with those floats on the back of your work.
Yeah.
And we would do it with a smaller project.
Well, that's perfect because I need a pair of hand warmers to go with the cowl.
Maybe they'll be hand warmers.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just be small tubes. Maybe coffee cup warmers.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to do that. And I'm going to recommend that people use a non-slippery fiber. So
something with some wool in it, like really rustic.
So Barb made this for me out of Eden. You can tell it's one of our favorite yarns. And it's lovely to work with and beautiful to wear, but it's just a little slippery on the needles.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make up some new samples using Rowan Pure Wool.
Oh, perfect.
It's machine washable. It's 100% wool. And would you like to see some colors?
Yeah, it comes in some beautiful colors, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so what colors are you going to use?
I think I'm going to use these three. So when you're picking out colors for color work, you want to think about what your background color is going to be. And I didn't want it to be a light color,
right?
Because I'm going to pull it on and off my hand. So I'm going to use this as my background color.
Okay, a dark gray.
And then I'm going to use the white and the gold as the contrast colors, the pattern colors. And I can
Nice.
switch them up. And that way I'll have a nice level of contrast. I can see my stitches nicely.
Yeah.
And the other advantage of using wool, when you're like 100% wool, that's maybe not superwash merino wool, is that the stitches tend to block a little nicer.
Yes, yeah, and your color work looks a little better, and
Yep.
you don't maybe have so much peek through.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're going to be teaching a class called Stranded Colorwork for Beginners, and we'd love to have you come and join us for that as well. That's on April 27th.
Good.
Oh, but I should have mentioned before those classes, we also have a Fiberside chat that we're going to be attending.
Yes.
And that's with
two of them.
Yeah, yeah. So one is on April the 21st, and that's with our friend Carson Demers.
Yes.
We had Carson. We were really lucky to have Carson come and visit us here in Edmonton when he came up with Ann Budd for one of her retreats.
Yeah, for fun.
And so we've had the advantage of taking a class with Carson. He's like the knitting ergonomics guy.
Yes.
If you experience any pain when you're knitting, or if you don't experience pain, but you're a little concerned that you might, because...
Or you want to knit and crochet till you're like 95 years old. Yeah. You need Carson.
Yeah. So Carson's written a book on ergonomics for knitters, but he's going to be coming to the Fiberside chat to talk to all of us about some tips and some ways to just keep our knitting lifestyle ergonomic,
fluid,
friendly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then following Carson's presentation on Fiberside chats, Ann Budd is coming.
That's so exciting. Yeah. So Ann's from Colorado.
Yes.
So our friends at Longmont didn't have to go far to get her. But that's great. You know, I just think she's the best teacher.
She is.
She's got the most amazing books.
Yeah.
If you want to make sweaters and skirts, she's your girl.
She is. She's, in fact, the sweater that I'm wearing comes from Ann Budd's top-down book of sweaters.
Right.
Ann Budd's The Knitter's Handy Book of Top-Down Sweater Patterns. That's the name of the book. So yeah, she's really good, and she's going to be doing a presentation on Fiberside chats.
Nice.
We should just, put a little thank you out to all of our friends at Longmont Yarn Shop, who hosts Fiberside chats, but also the other 30-some shops, local yarn shops that support and promote the Fiberside chats. It's a real, it's a really great opportunity for folks in our community to be able to have this resource. Yeah. So
come on out and support the local yarn shop in your area. You can go through the list and pick out which yarn shop you'd like to support, because we do get a percentage of part of the revenue from it. So we depend on that. That's how we pay, our YouTube bills and things like that.
Right.
And so we thank Longmont for doing that, and for all the other shops. It's one of the best ways to spend an hour with someone who you might have to, travel to see normally, or buy their book, or, things like that. So it's a great way to explore somebody new, maybe that you've never heard of.
Correct. So on that same day, Ann Budd's coming on earlier, but then following that in the afternoon, you're going to be teaching a class.
Right, yes. I have my machine knit class coming up. And this one is, I kind of have gone back to the very beginnings of machine knitting. This one is all about casting on and binding off. It's kind of the essentials, sort of the beginning and the end, right?
Yeah.
The things that you need to do to get going and to finish off your project. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite ways to cast on and to bind off on your knitting machine. So if you have one of those and you want to see it, come on out.
And then on May 11th, you're going to be, we're teaching, but Barb's going to do most of the instructional work on this one. And this is a class designed to help people learn how to knit lace. Yeah.
This was a class that we used to teach all the time in our shop. It's called Learn a Little Lace. And you end up making these. Well, we first of all, we teach you a little bit about knitting lace. So making those beautiful holes, how do you do that? How do you do slants, like left and right? Because a lot of lace patterns have this sort of angular slant to them. So this is the pattern for Queen Vicky's wristlets. And then we're going to turn them into these. This is a pair of Queen Vicky's. I'll just put it on.
Yeah, she's got the beautiful nails.
This, and there is an option if you like to bead yours. I added some beads to mine.
So
Maybe
pretty.
not showing up too well on the camera, but
Yeah, I saw some sparkle
did you?
there. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the lace pattern, and then we're also going to show you how to bind off doing this picot edge, which, I don't know, it's just kind of a nice little detail, especially for lace. Yeah, and you'll make a pair of hand warmers while learning lace at the same time.
So this class is on May 11th.
Yeah.
And then 10 days later, around that, about a week and a half later, we're here in Canada at least going to celebrate Victoria Day.
Yeah.
Which is the day we set aside to celebrate Queen Victoria's birthday.
That's why we named these Queen Vicky, because we thought they were, you know, something that you could use to dress up to go for tea, or you could just, you know, cash them out and put them on over a pair of mittens if you wanted. They make great driving gloves or even computer keyboard.
They're so nice too for summer weddings. You know, if you did it all in white, put a few beads in, it would be so nice for the bride and the bridesmaids to wear.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or like you said, you know, in the wintertime, put them on over a pair of gloves, and they keep your pulse point warm.
Yeah.
And they also provide just a nice little exterior mitt for your more plain gloves, right?
And they just take one skein.
Yeah.
So if you have one skein of something maybe with some silk in it or something luxurious, they love that type of fiber.
So Barb, I noticed in the workshop description that you recommend using, you know, like a little bit of a fancy yarn that you might have laying around, but you also recommended needles that are not plastic. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, you know, sometimes plastic can really catch and drag a little bit. So on a yarn that maybe has some silk in it, I would suggest a really smooth wood, a bamboo, or a wood needle that's really smooth, can't have any catches in it or anything, or a metal needle, a really nice polished, highly polished Addy or Chiagu or Knit Picks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that's Learn a Little Lace coming up on May 11th. And then we'll, of course, there's lots more coming up that we'll talk about in our next podcast. We'll also show you some footage in our next podcast. We'll show you some footage from the Rose City Fiber Festival because we're going to go there.
Yes, in Camrose, Alberta.
Yeah. We'll take some pictures, maybe run a little bit of video so you can see what was happening there. And then we're getting ready for some big things that are coming up this summer. So we're going to take a little break from workshops in July and August because we're going to be participating in the Fiberside Summer Crawl. This is an event that happens in July and August. We get to take a tour of, let's see, I think there's 7 weeks and 4 shops each week, so 28 to 30 shops that we'll be visiting virtually via the Fiberside Summer Crawl.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun, you guys. It's like you get 15 minutes with each shop, and so they're going to show you their top items that they have, the things their customers like to knit with, the yarns that they love to bring in, and give you a quick synopsis. So get your credit card out. Warning you right now.
Well, there's also going to be prizes. And this year I heard the prizes might be gift cards.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's a great idea. So you don't have to wait for something to arrive in the mail. You'd probably get a download code for a gift card.
Yeah. So instead of waiting for a gift basket to arrive, you might get a gift card from one of the shops that you saw on the Fiberside Summer Crawl, and then you can spend some money at that shop and, get a discounted purchase, or maybe it pays for your shipping, or in our case, maybe you want to take a workshop. So there's great things happening there. And we'll give you more details as it comes up, but I just wanted to,
plant a seed.
Plant a seed, yeah. Also, this fall, we're going someplace special, and we wanted to tell you about that too, because we're hoping you might come and join us there.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, Cynthia and I got asked to teach at the PEI Fiber Festival.
And PEI stands for?
Prince Edward Island. So this is on the other side of Canada. We're on the west coast, and this is on the east coast.
We're on the west side. There's some mountains between us and the coast.
Yes, but we're flying all the way to Prince Edward Island, and we're going to teach 5 classes. We've taken our top 5 that are really popular, and we're going to teach classes there. So we hope that you come to Prince Edward Island. It's a wonderful place to visit. It's where Anne of Green Gables
was written. Lucy Maud Montgomery was there. Yeah.
And I think her little house. Yeah,
you can go and visit. You can go and visit Green Gables if you want to. You can also visit the red sand beaches, and they have apparently the best potatoes.
The best potatoes
anywhere.
And they also have a yarn shop.
Several
yarn shops.
So there's going to be lots of vendors there. There's going to be a really nice marketplace. There are so many cool instructors that are coming. There's for example,
us.
Yeah. Well, Tanis Gray. She's the woman who wrote all those books.
Yes, the Star Wars. And,
and the Harry Potter ones. I shouldn't say she wrote them, but she did a collaboration with them. Yeah. There's Kate's going to be there. Lucy Neepy's going to be there. There's some new to us instructors that we're going to try and do some interviews before we go, so you can get to meet them as well. Barb, we're going to interrupt our podcast in progress because we've managed to arrange to have an interview with a lovely designer from New Brunswick, Julie Ann Lebouthillier. She's here, and she's got a new book, and she's going to be at the PEI Fiber Festival. And so we thought it would be so much fun to ask Julie a few questions. So Barb, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Great. Welcome, Julie. It's so wonderful to have you here today. Let's just jump right in. I wanted to ask, a little bit about your company, Twin Stitches, and how you got to become a designer. Can you give us a little bit of the background?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I live in the east coast of Canada in New Brunswick with my husband and twin daughters. And I started my business over, I would say, 6 years ago. And I was on maternity leave after having twins. And I didn't really know. I knew knitting. I was knitting for about 5-6 years. I never expected to become a designer. It's not something where I decided this is what I'm going to do. I didn't have anything to do, obviously, with just being on mat leave with twins. Decided to take up designing. I designed a pattern and published it. And I told my husband, if one person purchases it, I will be so grateful and thankful. And I always told him, this will be my yarn money. This is going to be like the money that I have just for me to spend it. And it started just growing, and people were purchasing it, and I couldn't believe it. It just really grew, and I just would never be able to fathom or imagine where I'm at today from where I started. And the name Twin Stitches is inspired by my twin daughters. So yeah, it kind of just got a life of its own. It's something that I'm just so grateful and thankful to be able to do and to have as my full-time job.
Well, then we also noticed, Julie, that you have a podcast. We do podcasts. It's a great way of connecting with our friends and our customers. And so, tell us a little bit about your Twin Stitches podcast. What do you like to feature on your podcast? What's maybe your theme or your shtick?
I love being able to show what I'm designing, what I'm working on in the background. I do a lot of like the typical sit down podcast in terms of what I'm working on, what I'm designing, what I'm really itching to cast on. I also share a little bit of quilting, which I'm not a quilt designer. Okay, I'm a beginner here, but it's definitely some of that passion comes through. I find with any crafter, when you start going one rabbit hole of knitting, it's the crocheting and the cross stitching and all of these different outlets. So I love being able to share tutorials. I have full tutorials on how to knit socks, all different types. I have full sit down podcast, anything honestly crafty and that can make someone smile. I love being able to share. So yeah, definitely love YouTube.
Back to the design a little bit, Julie. I know that you've got a book out, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But are there favorite designs that you like to do besides socks?
Okay, well that's not fair. um
Why? Oh, why? Sorry.
I love socks. Socks are just so much fun and they really are you're able to get so creative with socks. You're able to do textures and cables and color work. You're able to have it marled, double-stranded. You're able to do so many different techniques and I just find it's a way and it's a quick project. Depending on the type of sock, it can, you can finish it in a day or two, a week, and it's just that instant gratification. But I would have to say the other one that I love to do is garments. I adore knitting garments. I love designing garments. There's something about being able to wear something that you make and have it on display for others. Because sometimes socks, we don't really see them, right? They're in our feet. And when you're wearing a sweater and you go somewhere and people are like, oh my God, where'd you buy it? And you're actually able to say, I made this. There's no better compliment. So I would have to say sweaters. Yeah. Or garment.
Okay. Well, and you've got a beautiful one behind you, so
Thank
I can
you.
see that's probably where you're going, right? It's your
Yeah.
transition point.
This one is a vest, and right now there's a test knit call for this. So if anyone's interested, it's a DK weight vest with some fun twisted rib and really, really comfy cozy.
That's great. Okay. So now we've got to see some of these socks, and you have to tell us a little bit about your book. What was that like to publish a book? How long did it take you? All the deets.
Absolutely. So I published Knit a Box of Socks, which includes 24 patterns plus a full vanilla. So technically, it includes about 25 to 26 patterns. And it ranges from really super simple, a vanilla pair of socks to get you started, all the way to we have intense color work in cables and textures, scrappy, faded, double-stranded. It really has it all for you. And that was something for a book that I wanted to be able to have the knitter really go through a journey with it. Have the knitter be able to not only have just one type of pattern, really have a variety. Because throughout the year, your taste is going to change. And sometimes, you just need that something different, something different. So I really wanted you to be able to knit yourself a box of socks throughout the year and maybe, challenge yourself, start something new, try a new technique. It includes 4 different heel types. They are all designed toe up. Some of them are toe up, some of them are cup down. And I also have instructions on how many stitches you need, all of the calculations. Like this book is jam packed with info. And we even have some of the patterns are graded from toddler all the way to adult large. Again, I really wanted this book to be filled with information for you all. And the samples, of course, like I have so many, they are all beside me and I couldn't be happier. Some of the most popular ones, this one is called Birthday Sprinkles.
That's cute. Okay, so what are those? Are those little intarsia sections or
So these
embroidery?
are a duplicate stitch.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
So you
great.
do really simple and then you add the sprinkles in after. So it looks more, and that's a lot of what I love to do. It looks more complicated than it is.
mhm.
Like believe it or not, this is a beginner-friendly pattern because you only have a little bit of color work on each side, and then you're just duplicate stitching the sprinkles.
Those are so cute.
Yeah, and a
Thank
heel
you.
flap and gusset too.
Yes. So like I mentioned, these are the watermelon.
Oh,
Fan favorite is this one. This one is with the short row heel.
yes. Nice. And again, are you doing color work in the center?
This one, yes. So this one is a very simple color work for the seeds in the watermelon.
Right.
Another really popular one, which I am obsessed with, is feeling sheepish.
Gotta have one sheepy sock, don't you?
A lot of my names are whimsical, and like I said, I wanted this book to be happy. I wanted people to see it and just smile at the names and just be able to have a really enjoy it.
And that one also has a short row heel, Julie. So did you do that one toe up or cuff down?
This one was cuffed down and this one was toe up.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So you definitely have the different variety. And then the other, we have, we have some afterthought heels.
Mm-hmm.
The little pop of color. And this one, I think it's Stripes Gone Wild. Like, again, it's just, I mean, I had so much fun. And then if you're looking, if you're really wanting to jazz up your feet.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yes.
So this is an afterthought.
Wow.
I think so.
Yeah.
It might be a short row. I would have to check.
Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted a variety in the book where people could, and then we have some beautiful scrappy faded with a garter short row. If you haven't tried a garter short row, you need to. It's comfy, cozy, really nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So all in all, I mean, I was beyond honored to be able to complete this book and do this book. And it was something that the process of it was just crazy in the most amazing, wonderful way. I had this book and I think I wrote it in 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a tighter deadline, but it was fun. Would I do it again? Absolutely.
Wow, that's great. And your book was published by a British publisher, correct? Was there any reasons why you chose that way to go, or how did that happen?
I reached out to the publisher, and it is the wonderful David and Charles. Their team is wonderful and amazing, and I can't say enough good things about them. I reached out to them because I loved their aesthetic. I loved some of the other books that they had published, and I don't know. I felt like I could mesh well with it. When you see sometimes the style of books, I don't know, there was something pulling me towards their layouts, aesthetic. I really loved it. I loved how clean it was. I love being able to go through a book and have those headers, really have things crisp and clear and easy. And yeah, I reached out to them and wasn't really expecting anything back. This was something that I sent an email and I looked at my husband and I said, if I get an email back, like I'll be shocked. And I was still full-time stay-at-home mom. I was full-time stay-at-home for 4.5 years. And I get an email back within a week saying, absolutely, let's do this. And I'm thinking, like, can I? Like, so all in all, it was about 5 months and it was so much fun. It was definitely a challenge.
Well, I'm just curious to know, how did you pick the socks that you were going to put in the book? That's, you've got so many designs. Did you have a community to help you, or like what was the process there?
Well, I wasn't able to talk to anybody about the book. That was something that it was a complete secret. And that adventure was definitely something where I needed to be strategic with the types of patterns also that I included in the book, because like I mentioned, I had from January till about May 1st to complete, knit, write up, provide all 25 different patterns. And some of the patterns I have in the book, I think 8 of them are my best-selling patterns that I wanted to include in a book, including the watermelon socks. I also have April showers, which is another fun one.
Ah,
These were samples that I had knit ahead of time, but there are some that I did reknit for the book because I really wanted them to be perfect, like the watermelon socks I reknit. And going forward, I wanted to have a book that was a variety of different types of patterns, and which was really important to me because that's what I wanted for knitters to have an adventure through the book. It was also really important, and I asked my publisher to put in an extra vanilla pattern at the beginning for knitters to really be able to have at least like a vanilla basic pattern and then have 24 other ones. I started off, I can't even remember which one I did first. Like that's how like it was all over the place. I was very thankful I had my friend Heather. She lives all the way in Texas and she was sample knitting along with me. So she was the only person that knew, and we were both, me and her, knitting like mad women for about 4 months, which it was a blast, I do have to say. But I wasn't able to share a single thing with anybody until September, October of that year. So I was hush hush, and yeah, there was some patterns that I thought were going to make it in the book and didn't. I am proud of the books that are the patterns that we do have in the book. Yeah.
wow, that's great. So that's really, that's really cool. That, to have to keep that into wraps must have been really difficult.
It
And
was.
yeah, and it sounds like this happened like a year ago, right?
Yes. So this
So how long
started back.
before you got, kind of like the pages sort of to you to when it actually got printed?
I originally spoke with the publisher in November of 2022.
Ah,
And we got everything started in January of 2023. And I submitted everything by May of 2024 or 2023.
2023.
And I received my first copy, I want to say in September, October of 2023. Yeah. And we published on March 12th, 2024. So it's definitely, it takes a while, and there's so many amazing people and all of the photos and the editing, the photography, all of it is just so amazing, and takes a while because it just to make it perfect. And they really did an incredible job with the photography. They did such an amazing job with everything. I truly, I'm in love with it, but I might be a little biased, but you
So the
kind of have to.
photography, and that was sort of in their ballpark to take care of. Did you have to send all your samples off, and were you worried about getting them back?
I was terrified that all of those samples were going to be lost in the mail. Like, could you imagine that you send off a box of socks? Because it technically was a box full of socks. And I thought to myself, this cannot, like, we had it shipped. Thankfully, everything arrived. We were good with that. I sent a few ahead of time for them to take some photos to see the patterns, and then the rest of them were all sent out in May. But I held my breath until they let me know it's here, it's arrived. I'm like, thank you.
I can just imagine you were probably weaving in ends and Kitchener grafting toes the day before.
Yeah. It was a challenge, but it was really fun because I did reknit 2 samples, my Candy Mountain socks as well as the watermelon. So those I was able to share, and sometimes I love doing the 1 week sock knitting challenge on Instagram. And it's something that I decided to do because I was on such a tight deadline that I'm like, let's push myself and add in others. I'm able to share the journey, but nobody's going to know what it's for. So I was knitting some of these so fast, and I was doing it and thinking, okay, but they're not going to know that I'm re-knitting one of my patterns for a book, but they're just going to think, oh, she's re-knitting another sample of her socks. So it was fun that I was able to share a little bit, but yeah, it took everything not to say, like, scream it out to everybody. So.
Well, I'm totally excited to get a copy of the book, and I just want to reinforce the idea for our, for our listeners that, Julie's premise about having a book that you can work through that will take you through all different kinds of techniques and pattern instructions is a really good idea.
Yeah.
If you're going to experiment with stranded color work, for example, a sock or a mitten, something smaller is a good place to try it out. We know that those things have some challenges, and so if you're trying it out on something small, that's a really good idea. So yeah, I'm really pleased that you've taken on this kind of adventure, Julie. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And I think the idea too about having, kind of like a vanilla sock pattern, so that if you have a particular heel that you love to do, you can kind of plug and play with this, can't you? It's great. I think it would make a great book to use for workshops as well. So where can people get your book?
My book is available through Amazon, US, Canada, a few places, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere really that you can purchase a book, you can purchase this. I am in New Brunswick, Canada. I do sell some on my online website that are signed copies, but I do know shipping within Canada and, our Canadian shipping is not the best. So I do fully understand if you want free shipping, go to Amazon. It's available there. It's available through a lot of different yarn shops as well, and a lot of bookstores. So.
And I think, Julie, you're bringing some with you, or they will be available at the PEI Fiber Festival. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. I think there is going to be a designated book signing area, so I will definitely be teaching all weekend long. I am so beyond thrilled and excited to also meet you ladies there. And I'm going to be bringing, yes, some books. So in case that, you want to come get it in person, I will definitely be there with that.
Yeah, I definitely want to either come and get it in person or bring my copy with me to the PEI Fiber Festival so that you can sign it in between classes and trying to munch some lunch. Um, Julie, we see that you're teaching 3 classes at the PEI Fiber Festival, and so we thought maybe we'd ask you to tell us a little bit about what you're teaching. I looked it up. I see that you're doing kind of like a beginner sock class, Socks 101, and you're doing one especially on heels, and then you're doing one on, what was it called, like the best fitting sweater. So give us kind of like the, oh, I don't know, I sometimes people call it the elevator pitch. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you give us like a brief description of those 3 classes?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm teaching those. It is the perfect fitting sweater workshop. Yeah. I am teaching two-day workshops where it's a part 1 and part 2. I get you for the full day and we really dive deep. The Socks 101 is really going through knitting a pair of socks. This is perfect for anyone who has knit socks, they haven't really fit, who's terrified of knitting socks, who are just really wanting to explore a little bit more. We are going to be going from start to finish, knitting like a mini sock, and I will be teaching you along the way how to be able to cast on, do a heel, measurements, all of these types of things, so that you leave our class and you are confident knitting socks. The perfect fitting sweater workshop, that is one I'm so excited about, and it is going to be based on one of my sweaters, the What the Fluff pullover, I think, for that workshop. I have to double check because I'm doing it again with another sweater. So in this class, it's really for the people who have knit a sweater pattern or two, and again, have that issue where it's not really fitting your body. that you're trying something and it just doesn't fit right. You can't get it right. And in this class, on the first part, I'm going to be going over all of the math. We are going to be going over how to take your measurements properly, how to find what fits better, going over different sweater constructions, maybe what type fits better bodies, all of that. We're also going to be chatting about a gauge swatch. I know, nobody likes doing a gauge swatch. I don't care what anybody else says. It ain't fun, but it's necessary if you want a better fitting garment. So we're going to do a gauge swatch, and then through the second part of the class, we're actually going to cast on our sweater using our gauge swatch, using those measurements, and really helping you pick out the perfect size and finally getting a sweater pattern that fits, which is essentially what we all want. And then the heels class is going to be going over, I think it's a 3-hour. We're going to be going over the 3 heels that I do is the German short row heel, a afterthought heel, and a heel flap and gusset. So kind of going over the constructions. I will also give you the patterns, all of those details on heels. There, I think that's it.
Okay, Julie, so I'm excited to know you live in New Brunswick. What's that like? We're prairie girls. We're here out, on the rolling prairies, and you're right next here or near to the ocean, right? Tell us a little bit about growing up and living there.
So New Brunswick is definitely colder than where you're at. We are definitely on the East Coast, so we get a lot of snow in the winter. Tons and tons of snow. I've seen some winters where our backyard, we have a 6-foot tall fence, and it's just the snow's going over it. It's wonderful and amazing. You really do get the best of the summers, and you also get the beautiful winters. I've always lived here my whole life. It's just something that the East Coast I find are friendly. People are just always, I don't know, there's something about it. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just that warm, cozy. I love our area where we live in New Brunswick. And yeah, we are also a bilingual province. So we both speak French and English.
Yeah, I have to pop in and just say, I remember the first time I went to New Brunswick to visit my husband's family. I walked into a McDonald's and the menu was in French and in English, and everybody behind the counter was able to take orders in both English and French. It just kind of blew my mind. So did you learn both languages in school, Julie, or do you have bilingual parents? How did that work for you?
I am fully bilingual, as well as my 6-year-old twins are now fully bilingual as well in French and English. Growing up, my parents primarily spoke a lot of English. And when I started school, we went to our kindergarten to grade 8, as well as our high school, both me and my brother, in French. But I mostly spoke English. When I first entered kindergarten, I actually needed a translator because I couldn't understand French. Most of my family lives all in the US, and I got a lot of my English through them and my parents. I did all of my schooling in French and then went to college and university. I went to both in English. So we're able to do both. And it was really important for us, for our girls, to be bilingual. And they both go to a French school because French is so much harder to learn than English. And yeah, you are right. In our locations, both languages are here. A lot of the time you can get service in both languages, and it's really nice to be able to see that they're still being used. Because French is hard.
I have to agree. French is hard. Here in the West, we don't often get the opportunities to attend, well, obviously not French language schools, but even immersion programs are a little bit harder to find. So I love that. I love the idea that you're able to converse in 2 languages. I think that just makes you perhaps it makes you a better translator of knitting instructions. Who knows? That it may lend itself to that as well. Julie, I noticed that you have some knitting in your lap. I wondered if you might tell us what's on your needles right now.
Absolutely. I am actually working on a second sample, and I will be in 1 month on May 1st in your area. I will be in Jasper and the Hippie Strings Knitting Retreat, and where I'll be teaching the perfect sweater knitting workshop. I am working up a second sample of my Wet the Fluff pullover. This is a V-neck pullover, drop shoulder, really comfy, cozy. I originally knit it in a Surrey held with a fingering, but I do love being able to show that you can also substitute with just a DK weight yarn. And I am currently working on this, the body, which is perfect for Zoom knitting, just around and around. And I'm going to be getting it done, wearing it for the first to hop on my flight. I'm really, really excited. The yarn is Maggie of Yarnaceous, right here, in a DK weight. It's on her Bronto DK in an 8515 superwash merino nylon. And she dyed up this custom exclusive colorway. I have an online membership, and each quarter we have a dyer who dyes up a custom colorway for us. So I thought it'd be great to have her colorway in a beautiful garment. So that's...
Oh, it's beautiful. Are you doing anything special while you're knitting to blend those colors?
I do love alternating skeins. I do think that it's important with any type of hand-dyed yarn. If you are using a commercial yarn, you do want to make sure that they are from the same dye lot. Even commercial yarn can have variety. I think so. So you want to make sure when you're using indie dyed yarn, this is anything that's hand dyed. By nature, it's beautiful and unique, every single skein. The dyer can try as hard as they possibly can, but there will be some form of variation in. You want to cake them up and use every round, change your skein. So knit one color or with one strand, and usually you want to try to change it at the armpits. You definitely don't want something in the center, nothing where there's view. So around the armholes, that's where you want to change your colors and just really alternate skeins. Every round or two can really help distribute those speckles throughout. And if ever you are purchasing in a yarn shop, you want to look at the different types of speckles and maybe look for some that are more in the same hues of color, because again, they can change. They can vary in the deepness of the colors. So you just want to make sure that when you're choosing your yarns that you try to choose as similar as possible, and then from there alternate the skeins, which I always do, because it's just, it helps for later on.
It sure does. And I think, you had mentioned that you mixed your first one with Surrey alpaca, I think it was. And I think Barb's gonna do a little backflip on that, because we both love, but Barb really loves to add a strand of mohair to hand painted yarns, especially because it helps to blend any kind of color discrepancy, as you were saying. Yeah, yeah. And I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to Cheryl and Robin from Hippie Strings. They're a local yarn shop, sort of local to us in Sexsmith, Alberta. So just a few hours drive north of Edmonton. And they do a retreat every year. And I'm so pleased that they've got you coming out as a guest. That's really wonderful. So welcome to Alberta. I'm sure you've been here before, but I hope that you have an excellent time I think you're going to just past Hinton, just into the Jasper National Park. Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I hope you have a great time here, and it's lovely to see your sweater. Can you tell us again the name of the dyer who did your yarn?
Absolutely. She is Yarnaceous Fibers. She dyes yarn in the US, and she's Maggie. And it's also fun, she's another fellow twin mom who's a yarn dyer, so it's just super cute, and she has wonderful, amazing yarns, and I just absolutely adore it. But yeah, I was actually at the Hippie Strings retreat last year, and they asked me again this year, and I'm so beyond honored to go a second year in a row, and I'm just so excited. I loved it there. And yes, it's at the Overlander Mountain Lodge. You overlook the mountains and
yeah, it's a beautiful place to retreat to. Absolutely. So you're gonna have a fantastic time. And if it's not completely sold out, we will put a link to Hippie Strings in the show notes below. So if you wanted to follow up or send Robin and Cheryl a note about next year's retreat, it'll be there for you as well. But we just wanted to say, Julie, that we're so looking forward to seeing you in Prince Edward Island. And we're going to meet up with a whole bunch of friends and other vendors and instructors. It's going to be a fantastic time. So for those of you who are still contemplating coming, we want to let you know that now is the perfect time to book those flights and hotels. The PEI Fiber Festival will be running from October 3rd to 5th. 2024, and it's in Charlottetown, PEI, and we'd love to see you there. All right, well, all good things must come to an end. So, Julie, we just wanted to say thank you for spending some time with us, for showing us your beautiful new book, and for offering up a discount code on your individual patterns on Ravelry. Let's give you an opportunity to just tell everybody what that is.
absolutely. I wanted to give everyone a 20% off coupon code to all my individual patterns on Ravelry using coupon code TWINSTITCHES20 at checkout, and you will get 20% off. I think there's over 150 to 170 patterns. So definitely there's variety there, and this goes from now until May 31st, 2024. So 20% off all the individual patterns.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's lovely. That's a lovely and generous gift. So everyone, pull up the page. There are links in the show notes below or off to the side, depending on what kind of device you're watching this on. And we'll put links to everything in there. Thank you again, Julie, for your time today, and looking forward to seeing you in a few months.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to see you both. Bye.
Bye-bye. The Prince Edward Island Fiber Festival is taking place October 3rd to 7th in Charlottetown, PEI, and we'd just love to meet you there, see you there. So book a plane, rent a car, get together with all your friends, make it a road trip, and come on up and see us. Registration's open for workshops, and there's a whole list of beautiful hotels with conference rates that you can stay at. So
plan to come a few days early and stay a day or two later, so that you can really get in to see everything that PEI has to offer.
That's right. We're coming in a day early because it's 3 hours ahead of us in terms of time. So we figured if we had to get up at 8 in the morning, it should be like 5 in the morning here. We better have a day to kind of catch up.
Yeah. I think we leave it at 11 a.m. here, and we get there at 1 in the morning.
Or midnight, I think it was.
By the time we get into our hotel. Yeah.
Well, we were saying it's okay, because that's only like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. our time, so we'll be all right. But the next morning we'll be
You won't want to get up. So, so we need the extra time just to kind of handle jet lag.
That's right. All right, everyone. This is the conclusion of our podcast, episode 88. We hope that you've had fun, that you've enjoyed the tutorials and all the yarns and the projects. That we hope you are inspired to pick some up and do a little knitting or crochet yourself. Yeah.
See you next month.
Bye.
Pretty good, didn't it?
I think so.